Dude, and we're live, just like that.
Beautiful.
So, first of all, thanks for doing the show, man. I know I kind of threw this on you last minute, and
All good.
yeah, you were stoked to fucking meet up and make this happen. And I've wanted to do this for a while because my podcast being very geared towards like military, first responders, police officers, I enjoy episodes where it's really outside of that realm. But the thing is, where you have a lot of relevance in that is your whole journey is a journey for healing and helping people and providing solutions through CBD. And I'm stoked to share this.
Thank you, brother.
And I'm sure we'll get into all this stuff because like it's helped me dramatically. But I mean, how I do the show is just allow you to introduce yourself, tell everyone what you're about, and then we just go from there, man.
Yeah. Joe Sheehey. I am the CEO and founder of Cured, and we're now 5 years old. We just celebrated 5 years in September of this year.
Congrats, man. And that's a milestone for small businesses,
Man.
you know?
At the 2-year mark, we almost went out of business. And so I was like, all right, cool. We made it past the 2 years. We made it past the 5 years. And this is the first business that I ever owned. So before Cured, I don't think I've ever actually even told you this, but I was an aerospace engineer. I worked for Lockheed Martin for 7 years.
Okay.
And was heavily in the aerospace and defense industry as an engineer. And got to this point where Joe Rogan repeats this quote quite a bit. I don't know who it actually came from, but he says, most men live lives of quiet desperation. Mm-hmm. And I, before getting into my engineering career, had struggled quite deeply for several years with depression. And I almost took my own life in 2012 by jumping off a bridge. I had climbed over a guardrail. My feet were hanging off the edge, and I was actually coming out of a blackout. I had been drinking that whole night. And there was somebody underneath the bridge that stopped me, asked me if he could come up to the bridge and pull me back over the guardrail. And the next day and months and years after that, I really realized how depressed I was. I didn't know how depressed I was when I got to that point, mm-hmm. but I was living an extremely destructive life. And I thank God, universe, source, whatever you believe in, for placing that man underneath the bridge that night.
How old were you?
I was 21.
And I mean, fuck, dude, we could probably do the whole show on just that incident.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's something that I don't want to just brush over that, you know?
Yeah.
Like, something you said that was interesting. You said you didn't really know how bad it was. Mm. And in a lot of aspects of life, you don't know what you don't know. Mm-hmm. Like, that's your baseline, right? Mm-hmm. But what do you think were the contributing factors that brought you to that place, standing on that bridge, looking over the edge?
Complete lack of integrity. Mm-hmm. 100% complete lack of integrity. The idea of cognitive dissonance, the person that it is we say we are, and then the person that we actually are, that gap between the two is this chasm that can cause absolutely anxiety, because you say you're one person, but you're actually another person. And it's really easy for somebody to poke a hole in that.
Yeah.
So you're always trying to cover it up. Like, how can I like paint this picture of who it is I actually am, but I'm not actually that person. Going into school, I had been through my entire life growing up, very athletic, played sports, worked really hard. My dad had, an amazing career, showed me discipline and hard work growing up. And like, that's who I was going into college. But I got to college and I just completely lost myself. I had a bunch of hatred towards myself that stemmed from a long time before that in my childhood. And I didn't realize that at the time, but that was the thing that was causing so much anger towards myself. And so I said I was this person that was pursuing these big goals and dreams, and that I took care of myself, and I was going to build this big life as an engineer and be like this well-respected person. But the truth was, I showed up every single day with drugs, alcohol, women, cheating, lying, and creating this massive, massive gap between the person that I actually wanted to be and the person that I actually was. I was just trying to fit in. I had no fucking clue who I was. I was so lost, and I deep down hated myself. So I was numbing for years in college. And when I say I didn't know, it was because I didn't recognize that how much I was actually numbing. It was like the culture in college. And I think so many kids, because that's really, you're a kid at 18 years old, and you meet people from all over the country, and you're like, what do you know about yourself? Like, I don't fucking know anything about myself. And everybody's like, me either. So like, what are we going to do?
Well, bro, I think that that's one of the things that our society has wrong, is that we expect people at 18, 19, 20 to pursue these paths that are supposedly going to be the paths they walk for the rest of their fucking lives. Mm-hmm. And like you just said, you're a child still. You know?
A child.
And so you're supposed to be making these decisions and embarking on this journey that is going to take you through the rest of your life. And you're not really capable of doing that. I don't think most people are. Yet that expectation is just like, all right, we graduate high school and you either go to the workforce or you go to the military or you go to college. And all three of those paths have a similarity in where it's like, in a moment in time, you're an adult and figure it out.
You can't expect that of an 18-year-old. And we're saying that as looking at an 18-year-old. And there's so many things that are going on in this world where like, oh, like kids of younger ages have the ability to decide lifelong consequences and make those decisions, but we don't even have to go down that. It's like, the truth is that I had no clue who I was. I had no clue who I wanted to be, but I just showed up as doing what I thought I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
And it's those supposed to's. Like, most people wake up 30, 35, 40, sometimes 50 years old, and they're like, oh, I was just doing what I thought I was supposed to do, but I'm not happy. I hate my life. I hate my relationship. I hate my pursuits, my career. And that was like that slow waking up started when I almost killed myself. And I just say that I didn't realize how far gone I was to highlight the fact that I actually came out of a blackout. Like, I came out of a blackout and I was on the other side of a guardrail, just holding on to the guardrail, looking down on the rocks below the bridge. And so that was like, oh, like I recognized what I was about to do. And somebody was there underneath the bridge that ended up saving me, pulling me over. I took a handful of Xanax that night, and the next day I woke up in the hospital, and my parents were standing over me, and the doctor asked, we're going to run some tests. Are we going to find anything in your system? And what I said was like, a better question is like, what are you not going to find in my system? Yeah. And I saw just the life just suck out of my parents, because not only did they almost lose their son, but they saw that their son had completely lost himself. And so from that day forward, it's been this pursuit of, who am I? How do I want to show up in this world? How do I want to impact other people? How do I want to pursue like true health and fulfillment? And that's what's led to Cured. But I, before that, spent 7 years in the aerospace engineering world and was showing up doing what I thought I was supposed to do by society's rules and by even parental expectations of like, you get the job that has the benefits and you do the thing like you're supposed to do that.
Yeah.
And I couldn't, like, I wasn't getting happier.
And bro, almost everybody. And again, like, I only am intimately familiar with the career paths that I walked, but very, very, very few people have fulfillment from their 9 to 5. At least from what I see, they understand that exactly what you said. It's a means to pay the bills and take care of your family and all the stuff that we have to do. But bro, if that's why you're doing what you're doing, it's not sustainable, man.
No, and so many people feel so trapped. So it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
But the only way out of it is to do something really bold. Mm-hmm. And you know that better than anybody.
Bro.
It's like,
I mean, if you're not, well, a couple things come to mind. If you're not willing to step outside of your comfort zone, that all but ensures you're going to be stuck in the hamster wheel that you're currently in, period. There's no other, I mean, you don't have to be fucking Nostradamus to predict that, right? But also, like, you know, you said you kind of had a catalyst that shifted your perspective, and that catalyst was kind of a fucked up experience. But bro, the most amount of growth comes from dark experiences. You know, and that's what I say that about war all the time. There's a lot of aspects of war that were really fucked up, but I wouldn't trade it for the world, because going through dark shit helps you come to realizations. And the fact that you said how you were 21 years old.
21, yeah.
And you realized from that experience, like, it kind of woke you up to like who you wanted to be and what direction you wanted to change the trajectory of your life. If everything is going smoothly and you're comfortable and you don't feel any of those fucking demons coming after you, it's easy to just start coasting.
Oh yeah.
And just like you said, you can coast until you're 50, and then you're like, fuck, what did I do? You know? Yeah. And one thing we said with Forrest out front before we started even recording, just in a 5-minute conversation, I was like, I don't feel like I've really found who I was until 40. You know what I'm saying? And I always joke, and I'll say when I turn 70, I'll look back at 40-year-old Greg and be like, he didn't know what the fuck he was doing, right? But at the same time, it's like, I think it's a journey of finding yourself that a lot of people will never embark on.
Yeah.
You know?
Because it's really scary. Like, it's really scary, but when you've been through the things that you've been through, or you've almost lost your life, almost ended your life, like, that's the only thing that you have is your life.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So, like, if you're that close to losing it, or you see anything that you've seen, it's like, you're like, this is, I have this. Like, I have this opportunity. And so, like, what else is holding me back? And a lot of times it's like societal norms or supposed tos.
Bro, I say this all the time. And that one of the benefits of all my deployments to Ramadi, where we got attacked 40 times a month on average. So, I mean, you can expect something fucked up is going to happen daily. That I came to this realization that it's like, there's probably a better chance than not that I don't make it through this deployment. And that's not like a morbid outlook. It was just kind of, I mean, I'm just looking at the facts and the data, and I'm just fucking crunching numbers, right? And then, so you have two options: to live in fear, or to be at peace that, hey, this is the path I chose. This is where I'm at now. And if this is what gets me, you have to understand this was your goals and your dreams, and you pursued this, and this is where you're at now. And you can't be afraid. You just have to accept that this is a potential outcome of the path that you've chosen. And I actually found peace with the thought of being blown up or being shot at 23 years old. And I think once you find peace with that, you're kind of set free. And it goes back to what we were saying before I recorded. I was like, you know, through defying the lockdowns and doing a lot of pushback through to my department when my story went viral, there was never any fear involved, because I was like, the worst thing that could happen is I could lose everything and starve to death. And there's a part of me that's comfortable with that. And it sounds dark, but it's freeing.
Yeah.
You know?
And I mean, the pursuit that I've been on with building this company. So I went from that very dark place. I found the bodybuilding world. So I did end up getting a job at Lockheed Martin. I was at Lockheed Martin for 7 years, but at the same time, the thing that was helping my mental health was bodybuilding. I was pursuing bodybuilding at the exact same time as I was in my professional career. And that's where I started to meet a lot of the people that actually represent this company. It was what really started to inspire me to build a company in the health and wellness space, but to do it differently, to do it under the umbrella of changing the narrative around cannabis. But some of the experiences that actually led to me starting this company were psychedelic experiences where I thought I was going to die. And there is this, like, there's this world in like the psychedelic community that I sometimes am like so against. But what I do believe is that when you face your mortality and when you start to recognize that things are not exactly what they seem to be at face value, then that's when your whole reality is just like, okay, like I actually am going to start to understand that this is like a game that I'm playing. And the only way for it to turn out the way that I want it to do is to take 100% into control what I can take into control. And that's the way that you live your life and have been living your life. And that's what like actual successful entrepreneur has to do, is like nobody else is going to do this for you. And when I ended up quitting my Lockheed job, my engineering career, and going into the cannabis space, I was like, I don't think there's any going back to working for the government after being a cannabis entrepreneur. And maybe you could now, but I was like, there was no second option. It was like, I'm going to pursue this path, and I'm not looking back. Like, I'm not like, I don't have this fallback plan to go back because I don't think I can.
And how many people told you like, bro, what the fuck are you doing? Oh, all of them, right?
Most of them. Yeah. Yeah.
And dude, it's so funny because I feel like, you know, you said you did the engineering thing for what, 7 years?
About 7 years,
yeah. Through your 20s for the most part?
Yeah.
And dude, I talk about this on the show a lot. I think young men do need to work for other people 100%. And be on the grind and learn discipline and learn how to follow a schedule. Like, I'm sure so many aspects of that professional aspect of your life helped you to start this and run this as a successful, you know, flourishing company.
100%.
And very few people get to just fucking start their company at 21 years old and boom, you made it. You know what I mean? I always say, like, you have to be a worker bee. And then once you understand how that world works, now you have the skill sets to be able to fucking expand and progress past that, you know?
Yeah. Most people that work for me are younger, and yeah, we have a cultural problem, to be completely honest, is like understanding what actual hard work is and understanding what discipline is and answering to somebody else. Not that like it's just like we're in such a different world right now. But I tell a lot of the team members that work for Cured is like, in your first couple of weeks, like, you need to learn very quickly that if you were put in a corporate environment and you showed up in some of the ways that I've seen you show up, like, you would not make it. And so you have to understand that there is a value to that. And I learned so much I learned a lot about how the government works. I learned a lot about red tape and bureaucratic operations and stuff moves really slow. The joke in aerospace is like, hurry up and wait. Oh, it's like, hurry up and wait.
That's the joke in all government entities, you know? I mean, did you enjoy your time in aerospace though? I mean,
did. Okay. There was a time when I worked on space exploration. So worked on a program called Juno, which is a Jupiter orbiter. I did a lot of mechanisms design, so deployable solar arrays, the separation mechanisms that separated the spacecraft from the actual launch vehicle. I worked on a Mars lander.
You're almost speaking Chinese to me.
Well, you've seen separation systems in the military for sure. So it was really cool to see like the tangible, okay, like we're sending shit to Mars, we're sending shit to Jupiter.
Yeah, that's fucking rad, bro.
But I sat in the cubicle.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel, I said tangible, but it didn't feel like I had a tangible impact on the mission, but the mission was really exciting. So it was like, that's really cool. People would ask me what I do. I'm like, this is what I work on. They're like, that's really cool. Yeah. I'm like, well, I sit in my cubicle. So it was like.
But bro, I'll tell you this though too, because you know, I've had a lot of people tell me like, man, I wish I would have been a ranger. I wish I would have been a SEAL, because I ended up just going into communications, or I was a fucking mechanic in almost like a self-deprecating manner. Right. But for the mission to work, everybody plays a role. Everybody's a cog in the wheel. Mm-hmm. Right. And so if Rangers don't have their mechanics, then our vehicles don't run. If we don't have our cooks, we don't get to eat. And it's like, we're all supporting the same thing and we're all playing a role.
Yeah.
And it sounds like it's the exact same thing with you guys. But the fact of the matter is though, the guy fucking flying the spaceship through a fucking like joystick, he's obviously getting more fulfillment than the guy that fucking had a CNC machine that just cut a bunch of parts, you know?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if you take any person out of that fucking chain, it falls apart.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So, I mean, I learned a lot about systems. I learned a lot about, one of the big taglines in our division was 100% mission success. So it's like, there can't be a single box that goes unchecked, because when you launch that spacecraft, you don't get to go fix it.
Yeah.
Like, you got one chance.
Bro, I think about that shit all the time, and not just in like aerospace, but any aviation.
Yeah.
Like just flying here this morning.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I get in this fucking metal tube that goes fucking, I don't know, fucking 500 miles an hour or whatever.
Yeah.
And if one little thing goes wrong, that's it.
Yeah.
And it almost never happens.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
No, it's funny.
Fascinating.
It's funny because my dad's actually an airline pilot. I think I was telling you that. And we went on a little trip the last couple of days, and I was just asking him about things that have gone wrong over the years, and it was very minimal, which is really wild for thousands and thousands and thousands of flights. It's engineering. It's a difficult profession, but it's incredible profession.
I mean, how many times have you had a fucking water pump go out, or an alternator, or your fucking carburetor got clogged up when we were driving back in the day, like your old shit, you know?
Yeah.
And it's to think like, oh, if this happened in a plane, 300 people are dead.
Yeah.
And so, it's pretty fucking fascinating, dude.
Yeah. So, I mean, I got a lot from it. I, as an entrepreneur, I always joke about it. It's like, people ask me like, did you use your degree? I was like, I show up and I solve problems every single day in my entrepreneurial career. And that's what engineering is. It's problem solving. So like, I just solve different problems every day.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you, man, because a big percentage of the show are first responders, firefighters, police officers, soldiers. And there's a huge percentage of people right now that are looking to take that next step into entrepreneurship and find more independence in their life. What was kind of the catalyst or the initial steps to say, okay, I've enjoyed this career, it's been good for me, but it's time to take this next step?
Yeah. The truth is, I started getting depressed again.
Okay.
And I knew that when I was getting depressed again, since I had experienced it years before, I started to recognize the signs. I was like, okay, there's something that's not like, there's something that I'm not doing. There's something that I'm not saying. There's something that I'm not allowing myself to do. And at the time I had started a podcast called Higher Health. And that was intended, as I left the bodybuilding world, to shift from, what I didn't share was when I got into bodybuilding, it saved me for some time. Then I started doing a lot of steroids. Then I realized that this isn't healthy. So I had this addictive pattern that I went from alcohol and drugs to then steroids. And then I was like, okay, I'm doing this thing again. And
what did you notice about the steroids that were actually having a negative impact on your psyche?
It was probably more so the cycle of competitions. So it was up and down and up and down. Like I would gain weight and then I would shred down for a competition. I would gain weight and I would shred down for a competition. One of the days I walked into Lockheed and everybody called me the fit guy. I worked on the 3rd floor, and I would wake up and I would go do morning cardio, 4 a.m., do it for an hour. I'd bring all my meals to work. And I would be so depleted when I was getting close to a competition that when I walked in that one day, I went to take the elevator rather than take the stairs to the 3rd floor. And somebody walked in behind me. He was like, look at the fit guy taking the elevator. And I was like, oh, okay. So it's actually not healthy. There's something going on here. My brain wasn't working the same. My energy was so depleted. I was getting down to extremely low body fat percentages. And for me, I just recognized that what I was doing was I was searching for external validation based on what my body looked like.
Yeah.
And so that was what was unhealthy for me. I realized, I just remember taking a picture at one point and I was like, #health. And I was like, man, I was so geared out. And I was like, okay, that was that separation between actually being in integrity with what my message was And so I just recognized that that wasn't true. And so that's when I started a podcast called Higher Health, which was the pursuit of true health. Like, what's a higher version of a higher frequency of health? And that, in conversations with other entrepreneurs, other fitness competitors, I started talking about things like cannabis and psilocybin and all these other conversations. And I mentioned that because I was doing that on the side, and I had moved to a different department. And as I moved to the different department, it was actually at a separate company that did contracting. I went into this role after having been in the bodybuilding and engineering, full-time engineer. I was a bodybuilder. Then I went to part-time engineer. I was working 32 hours per week so I could coach people in fitness and training and nutrition on the side. So I was trying like my first entrepreneurial endeavor. And so when I took that new position, I took a step backwards. I went back to full-time, and I was kind of letting go the dream of like building a business, training other people. That business failed very quickly. But what had happened was I wasn't listening to my own desires. I took a step backwards, and I ended up back in a full-time engineering job. And in this new position, they were starting their new aerospace division. I had come from Lockheed, which is a very big company, and I was just trying to contribute. I was like, hey, like, this is how we did it at this company. I think we should do it this way. And my boss just hated me. I just like, we had this dynamic where like, he stopped inviting me to meetings. All I was trying to do was just show up and contribute. They were doing a bunch of new aerospace things I thought I had learned. And I was just
Was he threatened by you, or?
I don't know.
Who knows, huh?
I don't know. But what happened one day was we had a deadline for a customer, and I was supposed to be presenting the next day. And there was a bunch of other young engineers that worked at this place, and they had like an open floor co-working space. And this one fucking guy kept pulling out his Nerf gun and shooting Nerf darts at me. And like, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. But like, I had to present to a customer the next day, and I was like, dude, like, fuck this. Like, I moved all my shit into a different spot in the corner. And my boss at the time walked in while I was moving all of my stuff, and he just belittled me in front of everybody. He was like, Joe, like, what the fuck are you doing? You're supposed to be getting this done. And I was like, man, like, if you saw what was going on, you would understand that I'm trying to be more effective right now. It's the same dude that's not inviting me to meetings. And I was just, at this time, I was like, what the fuck? Like, I took a step backwards. I wasn't pursuing trying to start a fitness and training company on the side. So I like kind of let that go. And I started noticing that I was getting depressed again, because I was like, I'm not listening to myself, because the podcast was actually working. People were listening to it.
Yeah.
It was exciting people. So I was like, this was exciting for me. And then my actual career was like pulling me backwards. And then there was that boss. I was just like, fuck that guy. I was driving home.
You should find him and write him a thank you letter, bro.
When I first started this company, I used to post about it on Instagram all the time. I was like, thank you. Because
it kind of forced your hand, or at least put you in a position where it made it easier to say, fuck you.
Yeah.
Right.
And I was getting really depressed again. And I went and saw a therapist, and it was like through employee services, companies will they'll like place you with a therapist. And I was like telling my story. I was like, hey, I'm starting this podcast. I took a step backwards in my career. I'm like really like kind of pissed at myself. And the therapist was just looking at me. He's like, Joe, like, let me give you something. He turns over to his desk. He pulls out something out of his desk. It was a card, and he wrote something on it, and he hands it to me. It was the backside of his business card. I flip it over, and just on his business card, it says permission. He goes, Joe, you're looking for permission from everybody in the outside world. Nobody's going to give it to you. You just got to give it to yourself. I left his office that night. I put in my letter of resignation. And the next day I was like, I don't know what the hell I'm going to do, but I have this idea. People are talking about cannabis. I have the bodybuilding and fitness world. I'm going to try and bring it all together and change the narrative around cannabis.
What year was this?
That was 2017.
Okay.
Yeah. So a little over 5 years ago now. And, it's like I jumped off the entrepreneurial cliff, and I have built the wings on the way down. I didn't really know where I was going. I had an idea. I knew that CBD, because I had started using CBD at the time, to help me with my anxiety and to help me sleep. And I was noticing great benefit from it. And I had also been a user of cannabis outside of when I almost killed myself. I spent several years sober. Then I got into bodybuilding and steroids. And I was like, okay, well, I'm running into this problem again. I'm not really sure what I'm doing. But I had started using cannabis about 5-6 years afterwards to help me with sleep and to help me with recovery.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, like there's something here, but the whole narrative around this world is like the Cheech and Chong stoner mentality where, of course, like, bro, there's like, you know, you're never going to be a professional. You're never going to actually have hold down a career. You can't actually. You're lazy. Yeah. You can't be disciplined. You can't work hard. Like that was the narrative. And I was like, that couldn't be further from the truth. This is something that has truly helped me and I know can help so many other people. I just think it needs to be branded correctly. I don't think it's been branded correctly. Yeah. So that was like the mission. I was like, how are we going to change the narrative?
Bro, I can tell you the last 24 months of my life have been more productive for me in a professional capacity than the previous 40 years combined. And I've also smoked more weed in the last 2 years than the previous 40 years combined. You know what I mean?
You know how many people's story that is, dude?
Yeah. And dude, like, you see dudes like Rogan and like high performers, and then also like I was in the MMA world for a while and still completely immersed in the jiu-jitsu world. Dude, a lot of high level athletes are using cannabis to exactly what you said, to recover. It's not like, dude, let's party and get stoned. No. Like, it's literally like, dude, this is what helps me fall asleep and stay asleep. This also, like, I know a lot of guys that actually like to use cannabis before workouts.
Yeah.
Because it helps them check in with like what body parts need the most attention. I had one buddy that's like, dude, when I smoke, I can literally give my body a scan. And it lets me know what areas are compromised. It lets me know like if I have any nagging injuries. And people that don't use or have not dabbled in cannabis probably hear this and think it sounds like stoner talk.
Yeah.
Bro, it's fucking real.
Yeah.
You know? And something I've said on the show a lot. I mean, our brains have cannabinoid receptors. Mm-hmm. Well, what's that about?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We have a symbiotic relationship with that plant.
We 100% do. And the thing is that so the main driver, yes, I was depressed. Yes, I was out of integrity. But what led me to the edge of the bridge was alcohol. Mm-hmm. And my cousin was killed by a drunk driver. My uncle was killed because he drank himself to death, and same with my grandpa. So like 3 people very close to me. It's either in my genes, which it is,
yeah,
or it's really affected somebody very close to me in some sort of a way. And I said, that's not going to be my life. Like alcohol is it's just so normalized. And I'm not going to sit here and say like alcohol should be banned. It's like, it's here. It's a tool. You can use it however you want to use it. But if that can be so normalized, and marijuana can't, we have a serious problem.
100%, bro. And like in the first responder, the military community, alcoholism runs rampant.
Yeah.
And it leads to a lot of issues at home and DV issues. Like, just like you said, I like having a Guinness sometimes. Yeah. And I don't want to ever tell other people how to live their life. You want to fucking drink yourself to death and kill your liver, like that's your prerogative, right? But you're exactly right to not just have alcohol be normal, but it's fucking celebrated.
Yeah.
It's in every store. It's on every street corner. It's on every TV ad. And it's fucking 100 times worse for not just you individually, but for society than marijuana will ever be, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, what's the worst thing that you've done on marijuana is like eat a big bag of chips, like. Yeah. But seriously though, and that.
Bro, I'll eat a whole bag of Paleo Valley grass-fed beef sticks.
Yeah, there you go. You just got to make the right decision.
It's like, hey, I'm gonna binge eat right now because I'm high, but I'm binge eating on healthy food.
It's wild how that, like, sometimes it just doesn't actually curb the munchies. It's just like, this is so healthy. It's like too healthy. But that's the truth, because I would look back on my life and I would try to analyze when I would use marijuana. And for me, it would be, I was going out hiking and I would feel connected to nature. Yeah. I would feel connected to myself. I would feel in a flow state. I would go skiing. I used to do my damn calculus homework high. I would listen to music and I would do calculus homework. Like I would get in a flow state, just like you're saying with jiu-jitsu or MMA. Like you can get into a different creative state that is not the picture that's painted around marijuana.
Oh, 100%.
Like at all. So I wanted to be somebody that was contributing to creating a different future and a different image for the plant.
And it's pretty cool that, like, I would say the timing kind of aligned too, right? Because obviously you're one of the people leading the charge, but I also feel like society was ready to accept that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
If you tried to launch this company 15 years ago, people would be calling for you to be arrested.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. And like, you're 100% right. Like, people are dying for other options.
Yeah.
And our country and our society is dying because they don't think that there are other options. They don't think that there's a way to actually not go down like the pharmaceutical route. Like I'll never sit here and say there's no place for modern medicine. Like there needs to be both.
Of course.
Like, right. Like,
yep.
Like when you, like in the military, like somebody gets shot. What are you going to do?
I'm not going to fucking give them a joint.
No, you know? but both can exist, right?
Yeah. I talk about that on the show often because, you know, if you just completely write off Western medicine, I promise you, if you get in a fucking car wreck and you have your leg amputated, you're going to want the Medic One flight there
100%.
With the fucking doctors and the nurses and the most high-speed modern equipment
100%.
To fly you to fucking wherever, shock trauma or whatever it is, and fucking use all their tools and all their fucking technology to put you back together.
You better believe that you want that.
But the other side of that is people are becoming so reliant on Western medicine that it's actually, they're becoming adverse to putting in the work to create and maintain a healthy body. Mm-hmm. And the work isn't just working out. It's what you more important than working out. It's what you put into your body. Mm-hmm. And what we're seeing is, I mean, I was listening, I can't remember what podcast it was. I think it might've been Sean Baker, that the data shows that by the year 2050, over 80% of Americans are going to be obese, not overweight, obese. And it's like,
by 2050, you said?
Yeah. And it's like, dude, we are literally killing ourselves with food. And I talk about it all the time on the show, so listeners are probably sick of it. But like when I pick my kids up from school, I'm always analyzing all the other kids. Mm-hmm. And bro, so many of them are already not just a little spare tire. Like they're so heavy that their skeletal structure's out of alignment and they're waddling like penguins. And it's like, what the fuck are we doing? Yeah. You know? And it's like, we're fucking making our fucking country sick on a fucking biblical scale, but people still want to come down on CBD. You know what I mean? Yeah, like it's just fucking bizarre, dude.
It doesn't, and that's what I started to recognize, was just like, it doesn't line up to me. And I grew up opening up cabinets and seeing orange bottles with white caps all the time. Mm-hmm. And my mom's a nurse, and I can hold both. Like there are pieces of that have been helpful, but it was always the default. It was always what's the medication, what's the thing that we can quickly prescribe or use or take. And so I, from a very young age, just saw that, and I was like, I feel like there's another option. And when I almost killed myself, I was instantly put on antidepressants, and it just got worse.
Yeah.
For 3 weeks after that, I was cutting myself. I had suicidal thoughts all the time. It was just getting worse. How
long did you stay on that shit?
It was like a month.
Okay.
It wasn't very long. I was this is not.
I mean, what am I fucking missing here? Because whenever they talk about antidepressants, because Andy's talked about these a lot too on his show, and it's like, they make you feel like shit.
Yeah. They numb you.
So that it doesn't sound like it's anti-depressing. No. You know, especially when you hear the stories of when you stop taking them.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And bro, I mean, I don't have to put my tinfoil hat on every fucking episode, but at the same time, why are we prescribing all this shit to everyone? It's a fucking money grab, bro.
It's
until somebody convinces me otherwise. When you're telling fucking 10-year-old boys who are running around, hey, let's calm them down with Ritalin. And it's like, hey, motherfucker, welcome to being a parent and having a child. They're high energy. If you weren't prepared for high energy, you shouldn't have had a fucking kid. But like, it seems like so many people find a reason to be on insert any type of pharmaceutical, you know? And it's like, that's become normal now.
Yeah, I don't know what the statistics are, but I think it's like most Americans are on like 3 to 4 prescriptions or something like that. Like a majority of Americans are. And like, for that to be the case, I'm like, you have to, just like you do with everything we talk about in the last several years, there's like, you have to ask more questions, because where is that coming from? What's the incentive to have more doctors pushing more medications? And so for me, like, I somehow ended up I made a lot of bad decisions. Then I experienced what the initial solution was, and that was not the solution for me. It wasn't serving me whatsoever. And I also like recognized the benefit of something that I had been told for so long growing up in the the DARE program, was that marijuana was no different than heroin.
Yeah, dude. I mean, federally, isn't it still?
It is.
Schedule 3?
Yeah, I don't actually know. I don't even look at that, to be completely honest, which is funny because I'm deep in the industry. But yeah, I think it is.
Well, bro, I was in the feds from, was it 2011 to 2015? And I think it was 2013 or 2014 where they came and they said, hey, no more marijuana charges.
Yeah.
It's not legal, and it's not going to be federally in the foreseeable future, but they saw the writing on the wall and was like, let's stop using our fucking resources for this.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a waste of time. The one thing the government did correctly.
Yeah. It's a train you're not going to stop. But yeah, so I mean, the boss pissed me off, and I talked to the therapist, and he's like, dude, you're looking for permission from the outside world, but nobody's going to give it to you. Nobody's going to give it to you. And I guess that's kind of looping back to your question or statement around many people wanting to start their own pursuit as entrepreneurs. There's never going to be a perfect time. There's never going to be perfect conditions. Nobody's going to come and give you the permission slip. Nobody's going to show you the path. You can have guides and mentors and people that help support you, but like, there's no playbook to any of this stuff. You just jump and you figure it out on the way down. And there's a Terrence McKenna quote. I don't remember how the whole quote goes, but it basically says, you don't know that it's an actual feather bed until you land on the bed. So how are you going to figure out if it's a feather bed or not?
Fucking jump.
you have to. And so I think it's hard, because what's happened is so many of us, and even including myself before quitting and starting Cured, so many people are living paycheck to paycheck, and that's just like a trap.
Bro,
it's a trap.
It is a trap.
Feel like you can't, like, you feel like if that bank account hits zero, which I'll tell you right now, over the course of my entrepreneur career, the times I've been the happiest is when my actual bank account has been at zero. But you feel like that zero is the same thing as death. And
yeah. No, dude, I tell people all the time, financial stress can be as dark as any fucking stress.
Yeah.
Financial stress stressed me out more than fucking getting blown up in combat. You know what I mean? Because it's like, it's always there. It's like that monkey on your fucking back.
Yeah.
So,
for many people that want to be entrepreneurs and want to start their own journey, it's like trying to overcome that. If you are on zero, if you are racking up credit cards for a short amount of time, if you are completely starting over, the one thing that means is you're in control of your decisions.
Yeah.
You're in control of what you decide to do when you wake up. Nobody's telling you what to do. And so you get to actually create the life that it is you want. And so many of us just don't realize that that's an actual possibility. We just don't know that.
You know, one thing that I would tell myself, because me and my wife, we talk a lot at the end of the day when we're in bed, winding down. And I would always say, like, there's a lot of men out there that have built fucking businesses and that are being them for a living, you know? Well, men and women. But I was looking at it from my perspective, right? And I'm like, so why couldn't I be one of those men? There's no reason I couldn't be. I just don't have the path figured out yet. But the path is 100% there, right? Because you look around, a lot of people are doing it. And if you tell yourself you can't, then that's just your brain telling you. There's a part of your brain that wants to keep you down.
Yeah.
And 100%. I don't know why we have that inherently in most of us, but not only your own brain, but I think a lot of people are afraid to see you succeed because then they have to ask themselves, what the fuck am I doing?
100%.
Right?
And let me ask you this, Greg. Did you think the thing that was the catalyst to where you are now was actually going to be the thing that started, like, when you recorded that video?
Fuck no,
did
man.
You think
no.
That, yeah.
And dude,
and that's the thing.
Yeah, I was just being me, right? And now, did I know that it could come with some consequences? Of course, because I'm not stupid. Yeah. But I also knew that message was important enough to me that I needed to tell it. And if people liked it, cool. And if they didn't, fuck you. And yeah, just being authentically who I was set me free by default. You know,
free from the thing is like free from ourselves first, because the first thing is like, if we're not showing up authentically ourselves, we are trapped. We are prisoners to ourselves.
For sure, bro.
And that's the thing that causes depression for so many people, is when you're a prisoner to yourself.
And bro, I've told this story a million times on the show, but every single fucking cop I knew was like, fuck, bro, I agree with you 1,000%. We all feel how you feel, man. We all feel that. We all support your message, but you can't fucking say that, bro. You can't do that. Dude, you got a family at home. And they start fear-mongering, and they start worrying about what could go wrong instead of worrying about what could go right, you know? And yeah, bro, it's interesting seeing very similar parallels, even though our paths couldn't be more different.
So different. But
you
yeah,
know?
But yeah, it's like I don't know. So many people just want to like be able to zoom in on the thing, and there's no just one thing. There's not just like one thing that like created this for me. It was a lot of fuck ups.
Yeah.
And just desire for life to be different for myself, but also for other people. Yeah. And like to be that example for your kids, to be that example for your family, to be that example for your friends, to be that example for somebody. If it is just one person, that's a very exciting place to be, because then that starts to bring one person at a time back the thing that is the most valuable to us, and that's our agency, the ability to make decisions for ourselves. Bro,
I can tell you, like, when you wake up that first day and you're like, okay, I might sink or swim, but it's 100% on me. Bro, there's some nerves that come along with it, but it feels fucking good.
Yeah.
It's exciting, right? Yeah.
I remember when we met, it was like, I don't remember how long after everything. And it was before you actually started your podcast.
Yeah.
But I just remember talking to you in the beginning, and you're just like, I'm not really sure what I'm doing, but I know I'm doing it for myself.
Yeah.
And that place, for yourself, but also for so many other people that want that for themselves. Course. It's like you are that example of what can happen.
You know, like one thing that Andy says, and you've probably heard this being in Arte, that really, really stuck with me is it's because, like, what do most entrepreneurs say? Like, dude, you just got to outwork your fucking, and you got to work hard, and you got to put in the time, and you got to put in the hours. And that sounds cool, but as a small business owner, because when I got fired, I had my gym and I had 25 members. That's what I had. And so keeping the lights on cost me money each month. So my gym was more of a hobby that I was actually losing money on. But I loved it. So that's why I just kept doing it. I used to say, like, man, jiu-jitsu is, people used to say, like, when you do what you love for a living, you don't work a day in your life. And then I would always say, yeah, but when you invest a lot into your passion and it continues to suck you dry, it kind of makes you have like a conflict with your passion. Like I got mad at jiu-jitsu for a while, you know what I'm saying? But, so dude, once I got fired, it's not like, oh, I could go put 12 hours of work in. I didn't really know what to do. I didn't know where to put my time. I didn't know where to put my energy. And one thing that Andy said, he's like, bro, it's not about how many hours you work. It's just about winning the day. Each and every day, make sure you take some steps. And he goes, they could be big or they could be small, but some steps that are on a trajectory that you want to be on. And so, like, you don't want to live in neutrality. You certainly don't want to live in a downward trajectory. But if every day you're incrementally taking one step in the right direction, it might be a longer, slow, arduous path, but inevitably you're going to fucking get to your destination, you know? And so that's what I think about now. And bro, like, there are plenty of days where I might work 3 or 4 hours. And it's like, I teach a couple really good classes and I do some producing on my podcast, and then I'll be like, fuck it, dude. I got all this shit done in 4 hours. I'm going to go hit my sauna and I'm going to go for a walk. And what I found is working less has actually made me an overall more productive person. So
you become way more effective in the time that you are working. And I think that, what you're saying in there, and this is something that I work with a lot of other people that I mentor and even team members, is like, there's a difference between being busy and being effective.
Yeah.
Like busy is like you're just going from thing to thing to thing to thing with actually not really getting anything done. Like you think you are, but you're just busy. Effective is like the depth of the results that are produced that move you that inch forward every single day. Like the cold plunge is a very, very short thing, but it is so effective in the change that it creates versus like doing something that's like busy work. I don't know what I would compare the cold plunge to, but like there's the efficacy of something is different than like the busyness of something.
Yeah.
And so it's not just like grind and be busy. If you can look at the things that you do on a day-to-day basis and look at, is this effective? And is this moving me forward? Is this something that takes me out of my comfort zone? And if it's something that takes you out of your comfort zone, that is the thing that you should make priority every day when you're starting to pursue a different life, because that is the thing that grows you. And it's a way different thing than just being busy all the time.
Yeah, it's really shocking. Like, even as a U.S. Marshal, people hear that title and think like, oh, that's the pinnacle of law enforcement. You know how many fucking days everybody in the office takes a fucking 2-hour lunch?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the government is guilty of just perpetuating laziness. And I think a lot of these big corporate entities kind of are too.
100%.
You know? 100%. And everybody just, they put in 10 hours, but they're really putting in 2 hours. And then you're just rotting for the other 8.
Yeah,
you know,
100%.
Whereas,
that became very apparent to me as I left corporate America.
Yeah, so you come to your fucking cured headquarters and put 2 hours of hard work in and get your shit done. Well, now the day's yours.
Yeah,
you know,
100%. I do fill up my days quite a bit, but I just got to say the amount of stuff that I get done in a day, in a week, is, I'll look back and I'll be like, that was Monday? Like, holy shit. Like, we actually made so much progress, and it's because of like going towards the things that make you uncomfortable. And that all ties into my entire experience. Is like, I just started being really real with myself. I started being very honest with myself about my depression, about my suicidal attempts. It was very uncomfortable, but that created community. That created people that entrusted in me, that created people that connected with me. And it was just starting to seek that over and over. And it went to bodybuilding. Then it went to, okay, now I'm going to take this new job and now I like fucking hate this. And now I'm putting myself in a position to be uncomfortable. And then I ended up quitting, and not that it's been it's been uncomfortable most of the journey of Cured, because entrepreneurship is hard, but it's a completely different path than the path that I was on before that was just sucking the life out of me.
Bro, and I think the hardness of the journey is kind of what it's all about.
Yeah.
You know, like we all want a destination, And I think I even said that earlier in reference of always moving in the right direction. You're going to get to your destination. But really what the destination is just a continuation of the journey. Mm-hmm. You know, neither one of us is ever going to I'll call you up and be like, bro, guess what? As an entrepreneur today, I made it. You know, you hear Andy say it all the time. He's like, I haven't done shit yet in comparison to what I want to get done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's a case with I think if you're wired like that, that's just, for my fitness, I'm the same way. Like to the point where my wife always jokes I have body dysmorphia because I'm like, dude, I need to get better.
You look fucking good, man.
But bro, as soon as you get content, as soon as you feel like I made it.
Yeah.
That's a dangerous spot to be in. At least for me. Because if I made it, I'll probably end up fucking binge eating 5 Papa John's pizzas and Netflixing all night, you know?
Yeah, no, 100%. I'm curious, when you started exploring CBD, THC, marijuana, did you share it with other people? And what were people's responses?
Nobody was surprised, really.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because the whole time that I was a cop, I think everybody knew, it was understood that, like, I'm here for my profession and I'm good at it. And people, like, I was a good partner, but I wasn't quite. I used to joke that I got along with the criminals better than the other cops. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I was just wired a little different than a lot of them. And, yeah, I mean, when I tell people, like, I used to, towards the end of my fucking career in law enforcement, I would microdose before shift on mushrooms. Because, bro, I'm driving my patrol car around and everything's in HD. I feel more alert. I feel more alive. And I was like, dude, this is actually making me a better police officer.
That's
and
wild.
Most people would think that's just fucking insanity, right? But you understand that's the truth.
I understand it 100%.
You know?
Yeah.
But because that's how I was viewing I was already starting to view the world through a different lens. And, you know, I mean, a lot of marijuana was becoming legalized in a lot of states, and there was prominent people, i.e. fucking Rogan and guys like that, talking about the benefits of it. And I knew in my heart that law enforcement wasn't like a lifelong passion. So I was always open and looking and searching and seeing what else was out there. And bro, when I found marijuana and CBD and I realized what it did for my insomnia, there was no looking back.
Is your insomnia like a PTSD associated thing? What is it?
I don't know if. Here's the weird thing about PTSD is, like, I don't feel like, oh fuck, I saw kids get blown up and that haunts me in my dreams. Like, I don't have like flashbacks or necessarily. Sometimes I'll have like anger triggers, you know?
Yeah.
But what I found was when I would be in a current state of like instability in my life. It doesn't matter if it was my finances or my relationship, that I would want to ponder it at night. And so I would fall asleep. I could always fall asleep easy. And then, you know, I'd wake up at 2 and then I'd just stare at the ceiling and be like, well, what about the money in this account? And you're not getting paid till this next day. And then this fucking car just needed a new, you know, and like get lost in those fucking like what ifs to the point where I would stare at the ceiling for 4 or 5 hours, and then your alarm clock goes off and it's time to go to work. Then your whole day is fucked.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that would happen fucking nightly. Like, and again, it would compound more. Like, me and my wife went through a real rough patch it was a fucking couple years. And it was also when we were struggling financially. And then it was like starting a new career that I wasn't happy with. And you know how things just start to compound. And then like also trying to find a new tribe. I think that in my theory, or my theory on why so many soldiers battle with PTS is because they lost their tribe. I think it's more related to that than the actual things that they experienced in war, because you see some horrible shit, but you're always surrounded by your brothers, and they're people that really care about you, and they're people that you can count on. And then when you come home, a lot of people never find that again. And that's something that, like, I honestly think that's why you see Korean War veterans that are 70 with wearing all their ribbons and shit, because like that moment of their life is really like, it was like their pinnacle.
That makes complete sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I think so many people in the world, soldiers, 100%, so many people are so lonely. And so many people are so lonely. They don't feel connected to anybody.
I say this to soldiers and veterans all the time. If you think the best version of you was in the past, then it was. That's a self-fulfilling prophecy. And then, I mean, think about living a life legitimately believing the best fucking Joe that there ever was fucking 10 years ago. Well, that's a dark trajectory.
That's very dark.
And so I tell myself the opposite. Like, my relationship with my friends is going to be better in the future than it is right now. My finances are going to be better. I even tell myself the fittest version of myself is still in the future. Oh, yeah. And maybe I'm lying to myself. You know what I'm saying? Because like I can't fucking run distance anymore because of my knees. But I'm like, you know what? I'll figure something else out. And I'll figure out a way to get stronger and leaner.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, I'm kind of there right now too.
Yeah.
At 42, I think I'm probably the peak that I've ever been in, outside of fucking rucking 30 miles and shit like that. But, bro, if you don't believe that, I think you're setting yourself up to be fucked, man.
Oh, 100%. 100%. And that's why I guess you could call it study or mentee under Andy and Ed so much, is because they have this belief that the pursuit of your ultimate being, like who can you be in relationships? Who can you be as a leader? Who can you be as an entrepreneur? Who can you be in your fitness, in your mindset, in your relationships, in your nutrition? That's always expanding. That's always becoming bigger.
For sure, bro.
And the instant that you start to think that it's not, then it's just like the same thing of like so many people that retire, they get older, they don't have a pursuit.
Yep.
And then they die. Not instantly, right? But a lot of the time when you don't have that pursuit,
the soul dies first.
The soul,
and then the body follows.
100%.
You know, it's interesting, something you use the word leadership, and that's obviously a huge word in the military, like in the realms that I used to fucking live inside of. But I have become the strongest leader that I've ever been in the last year. And I'm not leading fucking patrols in Afghanistan and shit like that. I'm leading people to a better version of themselves in my gym. And I can see it now because, you know, the gym blew up 2 years ago. So I have fucking 24 months of observations, seeing people come in depressed, overweight, problems in their life. And, you know, people come to jiu-jitsu for a million different reasons. Or I see the biggest place I see is with the kids. You see kids that are timid and weak and they have a victim mentality. 2 years later, bro, they'll beat up full-grown men. and they know it and they feel it and their confidence, and they walk different and they look you in the eye. And it's like, oh, fuck, man. When you start impacting other people, that's when it really fucking starts to come to life. And that's leadership, bro. If you have the capacity to create something that leads people to a better version of themselves. And bro, I get it with this fucking podcast. I'll get emails about this episode inevitably where someone said, man, fucking Joe was talking about this and it really struck a chord with me. Like I get messages. I got a message the other day of a guy that's like, hey, I just wanted to show you a picture of my blue belt. I just got it. And you're one of the reasons I started jiu-jitsu.
And how does that make you feel?
It's fucking awesome, man. It's awesome because we're sitting here in your office just fucking having a conversation between two men, but because of the technology that exists, there's someone somewhere that's going to pull a piece of this conversation and it's going to benefit their life. It's fucking fascinating, bro.
I'm curious, do you think the results of you being the best leader you've ever been come from you leading yourself like you've never led yourself?
100%.
Like, do you feel like the most self-led you've ever felt?
100%. I also felt for a long time imposter syndrome because I went into the Ranger Regiment when I was 18, because I didn't know what the fuck I wanted to do with my life.
Yeah.
I wasn't a patriot. I wasn't one of those guys that, dude, I can't wait to kill people. I was just like, I felt lost. It's just like we said at the beginning, what 18-year-old doesn't feel lost?
Yeah.
And so I went to a recruiter because, they prey on kids with that lost feeling.
100%.
And that's just the truth. I'm not trying to belittle recruiters. And there was something inside of me that said, if you're going to give the Army 4 years of your life, why not do the hardest thing the Army has to offer you? And so I was like, okay, let's try this. And I don't know what inside of me made me do that, but because I was successful at these difficult things, I came home, dude, Greg became an Army Ranger. Mm-hmm. And then I came home, Greg was in the fucking Battle of Ramadi. And dude, then Greg got his jiu-jitsu black belt. And dude, Greg took fucking cage fights. And like people started to put me on this pedestal, and I never felt like I really earned it because I was just, those were just things that I pursued, but they never felt like exceptionally special, or it was just my life. It's just what I was doing. Mm. And what I realized, and this took me until recently, is that people don't look to those things because it's like, oh, you're badass, or like you're a fucking savage. Like that's what we were all caught up in when we were 20s. People look at me with my past experience and they realize that I can offer them value. And my experience and my skill set and what I can teach people in regards to self-defense or firearms or jiu-jitsu, I started to realize like, oh, I'm giving people real value. Mm-hmm. And once I realized like, oh, I'm giving people value, it validated it for myself. And I was like, you are a good fucking coach. You are capable. And it started to make me realize like, oh, fuck, bro. Why couldn't I fucking have a successful podcast? Why couldn't I have a gym with 1,000 students, And, I'm starting to make this podcast my podcast.
No,
it's supposed to be about you. But bro, like I realized like there was almost a part of me that felt guilty about like being an entrepreneur, like charging people for jiu-jitsu. Charging people for our gym t-shirts and shit, because it's like, why would I want to make money off these people? I like these people. It felt kind of weird to me. Yeah. And it wasn't until recently, it's like, bro, you provide value. And once you realize that I'm not trading dollars for hours anymore, I'm trading dollars for value. Mm-hmm. And I've talked to Mike Glover about this because he's like talking to me about charging too cheap on some of my apparel line stuff. And he's like, fuck, man. This is about building a brand and giving people something they want, and you deserve to be compensated for it. Yeah. And all that kind of came together at the same time and made me get over the imposter syndrome.
Yeah. I mean, the value, like when you actually have that tangible impact on somebody else's life, it is the thing that you want to start seeking more of, because you actually feel, just like I was saying, I didn't feel that tangible impact when I was sitting in the cubicle. Mm-hmm. Like I share, hey, like I worked on these missions, literally one's sitting on the surface of Mars, one's orbiting Jupiter. That's really fucking cool. And I didn't feel like I had any tangible impact. I saw my cubicle walls. But when you do things with the kid that comes into jiu-jitsu or that listens to the podcast, and you see that tangible transformation, that is the best, most addicting thing ever. And it is because you're providing value mm-hmm. that actually has that tangible impact and changes somebody's life. We have thousands and thousands of customers. I spent the last month calling our top 200 customers. I just called every single one. Hey, just want to introduce myself. I'm Joe, the CEO of Cured. How you doing?
That's
just wanted to check in.
Dude.
And I can't tell you the feeling. I can't even like describe the feeling that I got from hearing from somebody that says, your products literally changed my life. And you're calling me right now? I was like, yeah, just wanted to see how you're doing. Like, we're not doing Black Friday this year. We're not doing things normal. We're doing things differently. I just wanted to call you, see how you're doing. And can I do anything for you? Like, can we be any better? And they're like, what are you asking me like right now? But like, what I mean by that is like, that is because like we have premium products and they cost a lot of money, but we're here to provide value. We're here to change people's lives. And as soon as I started to realize that's what entrepreneurship was all about, I actually started to realize how I was going to create true fulfillment and happiness in my life.
Yeah.
And that was like the whole story of, man, I'm on this bridge to, I'm going to try this. I'm going to try that. That's not the thing. That's not the thing. That's not the thing. That's not the thing. The money in the bank account isn't even really the thing, but the money in the bank account actually shows up because of the thing where you're providing a bunch of value without the expectation of something in return. It just starts to show up. Like that's the law of the universe. It's your life, literally, from putting something out there to speak your mind that tangibly impacted a lot of people, created everything that it is now today. Your podcast, everything.
I've come to believe it was a form of manifestation.
It's 100% a form of manifestation. I couldn't believe in manifestation more. Not in the fact that I'm just sitting here and thinking about it, but I'm sitting here thinking about it, envisioning what I want my future to be like. And I'm showing up and I'm like getting on a phone call with Greg. I'm like, dude, fuck yeah. Thank you for doing that. Can we work? Do you want to work together? Like you're starting a podcast. Like,
yeah,
like I appreciate that. And you don't know what that's going to lead to, but it's just the small actions and the idea of what life can actually be. So it's like the idea and the action.
I wonder, I just read, I forget the name of it, but it was the book of the most famous book about manifesting your future.
Was it Think and Grow Rich?
I just got that one too. I haven't read it yet though, but I still think about these things like, is manifestation actually something where you're having some type of literal energy exchange with the universe, or is it that you tell yourself that is happening in your own brain and it makes you take the path to get there? Do you know what I'm saying?
I think it's fucking both. I think it's both. Yeah. But that's the thing that why I love psychedelics, why I love marijuana is because it allows you to get to states that allow you to start thinking like that. Yeah. To start taking the barrier off, to start move that ceiling.
Yes.
Everybody's running into this ceiling that's sometimes self-imposed, but most of the time societally imposed. And it's a trap.
100%. And I've had some of my most profound realizations and like deep conversations with people that I love and like learning about myself while being high or while being on mushrooms.
100%.
And it does. You're exactly right. It just almost unlocks something and allows you to look in from a different perspective.
Yeah. And so why wouldn't the powers that be want that to be illegal?
For sure, bro.
Because that's dangerous.
It's like if you're staring out this fucking window right here for years. Maybe you're born in this room, and this is all you know. Bro, and dude, I think about this with my fish tank because I'm staring at my fish high, and I'm like, they were born in a fish tank, and this little fish, and then I have 2 African clawed frogs in there too. This is all they've ever known. This is the universe to them.
100%.
And they don't understand that on the other side of this glass is everything else, right? Mm-hmm. So like if you were born in this room and we just looked out this window for 10 years and then you realize, oh, that's a door that leads into another room and you can walk to the far side of the building and now we can get a different perspective on the same thing out there.
100%.
It's huge, man.
But the problem is that there are systems that are in place that don't allow you to get into that mind state, that don't allow you. There are systems in place that just keep you busy on that hamster wheel that we're talking about. Like, bro, busy.
I think society wants everybody stuck in worker bee capacity. It's by design.
Yeah.
You know?
It's a harsh reality, and it breaks my heart for so many people because I know what it feels like to be trapped in that, and so do you.
Yeah.
And it's a really shitty place.
And bro, everybody's clinging on to, you said it earlier, like there's never going to be the perfect timing, right? Because in my professions, everybody's clinging on to their retirement date. Mm-hmm. And they're like, dude, on fucking 2026, man. In January 2026, I get to drop my fucking paperwork and I'm out of here. And then I'm going to get this RV and we're going to road trip to the Grand Canyon. And then I'm going to do this and then I'm going to do that. And it's like everybody that's stuck in the hamster wheel is looking to achieve all of these things 10, 15, 20. Fuck, some agencies are requiring 30 years now. You know what I mean? Can you imagine saying, hey, Joe, in 2032, we should go do this? Like, what the fuck are we talking about, dude?
No.
You know?
No. It's a wild world that we're living in, and that's why I do think that it actually has to all collapse.
I hope it does. I know it's a fucked up thing to say.
I know you're ready for it, but like, it's like,
I think it has to be, I think we've arrived at a point where we need to fundamentally rebuild this country or rebuild this fucking world, to tell you the truth.
100%.
And you can't rebuild something until it fucking falls apart. And it's in the process. The wheels are fucking shaking and the car's smoking and they're about to fucking fall off, dude. And it's going to be an exciting fucking journey. And I'm not even talking like, oh, apocalyptic warlord shit. Because, yeah, I want to do that too, right? But I'm just saying, man, we get to live in a real crazy... I think we're going to live through one of the craziest times in humanity.
I agree.
And then I look at my grandfather who worked in a lumber mill for fucking 60 years, retired and died. Mm-hmm. And it's like everybody that knew him had nothing but good things to say about him. He was an honorable man. I don't want that shit. Mm-mm. I want an apocalypse. You know what I'm saying?
I'm glad I know you, Greg.
Dude, something I wanted to ask you when we were talking about like validating yourselves and finding value. When you first started on this journey and you started seeing that you were impacting people, right? And you were having positive influences on people's lives. For me personally, one thing that was that I struggled with, 100 people could write me an email and say, bro, this really fucking helped me. One person would write me and be like, man, you talk out your fucking ass and you're a piece of shit and you're a fucking fraud and blah, blah, blah. The 1% people that are trying to like pull you back and lower your vibration again would affect me for a long time. And that was like a big development in my professional life over the last 24 months. Is learning to not give energy to the negative that's always trying to get its hooks in you.
That is something that I struggle with.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely struggle with that myself. And at times it's been the thing that's held me back from personally building a bigger brand on social media. I'm like, I'm just going to build Cured. I'm going to build the brand. But like my personal brand, I got so much stuff to say. I know that is coming and I'm afraid of that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird,
because
man.
If I actually say what I actually think, I think a lot of people won't actually like me, but I know that there's a lot of people that will like me. And so that's why there will be a lot of people that would be like, that's not the Joe that I thought existed. And I was like, well, you don't know me.
Dude, that's a very interesting dichotomy that we find ourselves in, because who we are on social media, at the end of the day, you can say whatever you want, but it dictates when your profession is in the like I run a gym and I run a podcast. I'm always interacting with people and I'm putting a product out there, right? Mm-hmm. People have to fucking appreciate who I am. They have to like me. Mm-hmm. Like that part of building a brand and building a business is like developing yourself into someone that can make this happen and build a community and make people like you. And what you find is you can't make everybody like you, because when you show up authentically as yourself, some people like you, some people fucking hate you.
Yeah.
Right?
You know the thing that gets me through? This is 100% the thing. And it's being so fucking clear on who I am and what I value. And when I got so clear on the things that I value, my number one core value is responsibility. Taking responsibility for everything that is my life, the shitty part and the amazing part. The shitty part, that's my fault. And so is the amazing part.
Yeah.
And once you start to do that, and once you start to live your life like that, Well, I'll tell you the opposite of living life like that is the thing that causes depression.
Yeah.
Like when you aren't in integrity, like that's full circle. When you aren't who you say you are, then you're afraid somebody's going to point that out.
Yeah.
That's going to make you anxious. That's going to lead to depression. So for me, I had that. I lived a lot of life like that, and I hated myself for it. Even the small little white lies, like the little things.
Yeah.
Just like that doesn't matter. In the moment, you don't think it matters, but that shit compounds on itself. And when you don't actually give weight to that, you can find yourself way down the road on these little stacks of lacks of integrity. They might just be the smallest ones, but think about how unstable that foundation is.
Yeah.
That whole thing can come crumbling down instantly. And that's almost what happened to me in my second year of business when we went out of business. I couldn't speak directly. I didn't know how to correct behavior. I didn't know how to hold high standards. I was worried about if people were going to like me or not. I realized that when I take full responsibility for everything that is my life, those little pieces that are out of integrity, I didn't pick up the trash. I didn't do that. It starts to hurt more and more.
Yeah.
When you're far away from being in integrity, it doesn't hurt that much to continue to stay out of integrity. But when you start to really get into integrity, those little deviations fucking hurt. You're like, damn it, like I did it. I told myself I wasn't going to do that thing.
Yeah.
And that is the thing that builds a lot of confidence that helps me not fear somebody in the outside world saying something about me, because I'm confident in the fact that I'm in integrity and owning who I am and taking full responsibility for my life. So I think that for me, that is the thing that helps me when I do speak out, because I'm like, this is who I am, and I know that there's no holes to poke in it. I know that I'm in integrity, but I couldn't say that for most of my life.
Yeah.
And when I couldn't say that for most of my life, the little validation of like, hey, you actually are who you are. You're actually not who you say you are. You actually lied over here, or you cheat over here. It fucking kills you, because you know deep down there's a piece of it that's true.
Yeah.
And that used to be me.
When you took a leadership role here and started having like a team underneath you, I mean, I'm sure that's what you were talking about. You would struggle with like correcting people.
Yeah.
Or what I've found is once you have like more belief in yourself, you start to realize like, if you're walking the straight path, helping someone else walk the straight path, it's actually a kind thing to do to them.
100%. It's the most kind thing you could do.
You know, it's like me correcting you on something that I perceive is wrong. That's not me being a dick. That's me fucking like, I want to get you on a better path. And that's when once you realize that, you can see it from both sides too. Mm-hmm. When other people come to you and be like, hey, Greg, you might want to think about this, or I've noticed this lately. And you're like, oh, fuck, they're right.
Yeah.
But it feels good.
It does.
You know?
My wife's the best at that.
Yeah. And bro, it was hard. That was I felt inadequate as a leader forever. And I mean, fuck, dude, I was a team leader in the Ranger Regiment at 21 with like five guys underneath me leading patrols in Afghanistan. What the fuck are we talking about? And I remember back then, I'm like, dude, I'm the same age as all these guys. All these guys are my friends. Like, just one day you get pulled in the hooch and they pin sergeant stripes on you. And now you're in charge of people. And I never quite figured that out, you know? I actually think I would make a good platoon sergeant right now. You know, yeah. I think about that. Because the platoon sergeant, at the time, he's like a god. But he's like 26. You know,
that's really young.
In charge of a bunch of 22-year-olds, you know?
Yeah. It's wild. It's wild. So, yeah, I think that's the thing is like, I realized how far I was off for a while, and my business almost came crumbling down. And at that time, I actually read Jocko Willink's Extreme Ownership book. Yeah. And I was like, okay, that's real leadership.
And bro, the thing about extreme ownership, and I'm not saying this to like take away from Jocko, because I love his stuff. Yeah. I have all the Way of the Warrior Kid stuff. But all of the stuff that he teaches, when you really just sit back and look at it, that should be common sense for the most part.
It should.
That's what I'm saying. Like, nothing he says is like this, this earth-shattering thing. It's like...
it is common sense. It should be common sense. You're 100%.
And there's a part of you that kind of already knew it. Oh
yeah, that's why it hurts so much.
You know what I'm saying? Especially coming from the military, like a lot of the stuff that he preaches, it's like, yeah, that's right. I know that's how we should be doing things.
100%.
But again, he lived that life and did it, you know?
Yeah.
Well, fuck, bro, we're already at an hour and 24 minutes. And this was supposed to be about, I wanted to get into the CBD side of things, right?
Yeah.
One thing that I say, I don't know if you listen to the fucking ads that I record for your company, but one thing that I say is that there's a lot of brands that just buy in bulk, relabel and redistribute, and they don't know.
Most do.
And they don't know fuck all about cannabinoids and CBD. And I've talked to you before and had conversations where it was like right over my head, you know what I mean? Because you understand the extraction process and all that, like on a fucking molecular level.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think that's what sets you apart from all of these other brands. And I mean, good on them if they're fucking selling a good product and they're just making a little profit as they fucking are the middleman, basically, right? But I want to be a partner with a guy that is a fucking leader in the industry and understands everything. So like, where would you even start trying to explain what CBD is, how it's beneficial to you, to people that are listening right now that don't know a fucking thing about it?
Yeah, 100%. So the crash course is cannabis is the genus, like the species, right? And under cannabis, there's marijuana and hemp. The only differentiation between marijuana and hemp from a legal perspective, like the definition, hemp is cannabis with less than 0.3% THC. Marijuana is cannabis with greater than 0.3% THC. So when you hear hemp and marijuana, that's the difference.
So it's a legal term more than anything like genetically.
Well, it has become just a legal term. So hemp and marijuana, you could look at the plant and you wouldn't know the difference if you've bred it to have high cannabinoids in it. So hemp as an industrial plant is like stocky, it's long, it's used for textile. So think of like a taller, stockier plant. Typically marijuana is shorter, bushier, and has the flowers, right? And that's where you have the high cannabinoids because the cannabinoids come from the flowering plant. And the trichromes and everything that is in what is considered to be the marijuana plant. But over the course of time, the ability to breed the genetics in the plant is something that people have been doing for quite some time. So what they've done is they've been down selecting THC. So it becomes this bushy marijuana looking plant with the flowers and the cannabinoids, but the THC gene has just been bred down. So it's a low expression, but it doesn't look like a tall, stocky hemp plant. But it is hemp because it doesn't have greater than 0.3% THC in it, but it's full of cannabinoids. So there's over 100 cannabinoids in the cannabis plant. And from a legal perspective, the main differentiator is the concentration of THC. THC is one of over 100 cannabinoids. CBD is another one. CBD, cannabidiol, is a cannabinoid similar to THC, which is tetrahydrocannabidiol, and there's over 100 of those cannabinoids, and we just talk about 2 of them.
Okay.
CBD is non-intoxicating, so it doesn't give you the high euphoric effect of THC, but it is psychoactive. And when I say psychoactive, what I mean by that is it has a function in the brain where it helps calm. Anything that's calming, that has some type of effect on GABA receptors, that is psychoactive, but not intoxicating. So CBD isn't intoxicating. It's not going to get you high. It has great anti-inflammatory like properties. It's really good at calming you down. And it's kind of like you could consider it like an adaptogen. It helps create homeostasis in the body. It helps with your stress response. And so CBD is one of over 100 cannabinoids in the cannabis plant. THC is another one. THC gives you like that euphoric effect. But when you say, what is CBD? It's one of over 100 cannabinoids. It has great anti-inflammatory like effects. It's great for calming, and it's great for recovery, and it's not going to get you high. But if you have a full spectrum extract, which is like what's in these gummies, a full spectrum extract has THC showing up in it. It has CBN, CBG, CBC. So if you think about just like squeezing the juice per se, out of the cannabis plant. That's not how it works. It goes through an extraction process. But just think about squeezing all the juice, the cannabinoids.
You can't just put it in your juicer.
It doesn't activate it, so it has to be heated.
Okay.
But through the extraction process, you're basically just extracting out all the cannabinoids. So you have this extract that has CBD in it, it has THC in it, it has CBC, CBN, all these cannabinoids. And that's a cannabis extract, a full spectrum extract. And it has the plant material in it as well, which are terpenes, which are like, think like lavender, like the smell of a plant, that's a terpene.
Okay.
So the smell and then the array of cannabinoids in the extract is what creates the effect. So what we do at Cured is we take extract and we custom and hand select it so that it has a specific amount of THC, it has a specific amount of CBD, and we create custom formulations to put it into our product so we can have the highest amount of CBD or any other cannabinoid that we want. And that can push the legal limit. It can create different effects. But when you're buying white label, when you're slapping your label on a bulk made manufactured CBD oil or a tincture or a capsule, they're just bulk putting extract into capsules and seeing whatever they end up with.
Okay.
We actually work with the manufacturer. We take the extract, we run the testing, we say we want this many cannabinoids in it, and we do that for every single batch. So it's almost like custom formulation for every single product to have the highest efficacy possible.
And then is there like a trial run on these things that you guys like put yourselves through or whatever? I mean, like,
yeah,
I mean, I doubt
like
you're going down to the college and doing double blind placebo studies with Zen.
Yeah.
But Zen fucking works.
We've been actually thinking about doing that.
So how did you like, that's exactly how you discover it?
So we have a clinical herbalist that does our formulations. So like traditional Chinese medicine, she works with clients one-on-one. She's not a full-time employee of ours, but she does our formulations. We approached her and we said, hey, like we want to take cannabinoids and we have functional mushrooms and we have adaptogens in our products, other herbs that are basically all traditional Chinese medicine. We said, hey, we want to create these functions. How would we do that? It's not like throwing the kitchen sink of these popular ingredients into a formulation and thinking, oh, is this going to work? We did it. We work with a clinical herbalist that knows exactly how they work.
Well, bro, I guess there has been people doing this shit for thousands of years.
Yeah.
So why not fucking pull from their knowledge?
That's who we use. And so like using our engineering background, my business partner is a former engineer as well. So it's the testing, the quality control, we put a lot of effort into that. And then we hire experts that understand traditional Chinese medicine and review our formulas to have, like, we know when we created Zen, we knew it was going to work. We just didn't know how well. And then we would tweak little things.
I see.
And same with Rise and all of our other products. But it's basically traditional Chinese medicine with cannabinoids. And I believe
Did they use CBD?
They definitely did. The cannabis plant has been used for over 5,000 years. It's been showing up in pharmacopoeia. Now, and like, is that considered traditional Chinese medicine? I wouldn't say it is. But cannabinoids have been used for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. It's like, it's showing up like in the Bible. And so it's like, okay, so how long has Western medicine been around? And like what we know is like pharmaceutical companies. Okay, thousands of years.
Yeah.
And like, not thousands of years, like hundreds. Not that there isn't a time and place for them, but like if we just take off our like the glass ceiling and start to think about it, it's like, why wouldn't this stuff be powerful?
And not to beat a dead horse, but the thing that's bizarre for me about it is it's like just because we developed penicillin doesn't negate thousands of years of somebody else's discoveries.
Yeah.
It was like not only did Western medicine kind of like take off on its own path, but if you believed in the old ways, you were almost considered foolish. You know, like you had acupuncture done. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah,
you know what
wonders.
I mean? And so it's like, I'm glad that I've come full circle, and it's like, oh, how about you just think that both could offer value?
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. We went through a wild time where we're like, fuck everything Western medicine, but like, Yeah. And so how we show up is we create custom formulations. We have a clinical herbalist that creates the formulas, knows how the herbs work together. And then we just put everything through rigorous testing. You could see all of our testing results for every single product that was ever released live on our website. You just go to it, you go to quality control at the bottom, you can look at the batch results, you can see that there's no pesticides, there's no heavy metals, there's no microbial. The cannabinoids that we say are in there are 100% in there. And we do that for every single product because that's something that the supplement industry should do. Like the whole supplement industry should do that, because when something can help somebody, I know 100% it can help people, but they go buy something that doesn't have in it what it says it has in it, then not only did you disserve or not serve that person, you were doing a disservice to that person. That company is doing a disservice to the entire industry.
Yeah.
Like those bad players made a bad name for CBD in the very beginning. It was like this trendy thing that you would see in gas stations, and people are like, does this work? Does it not work? And I'm telling you right now, if you get something that's actually what it says it is, it's coming from a reputable source, it works for so many people. So that's been our mission.
How would you, I mean, and I know you're a mindset of abundance guy, so like, obviously there are other great CBD companies out there,
yeah.
But for just a consumer that doesn't know anything, how would you advise them to make sure that like the CBD that they're consuming is of a high value, or high quality?
Yeah. I mean, you couldn't do this on the shelves. Like if you were at a store, you couldn't ask the brand that had sold their product to the store, like, can I see the test results? But you don't even have to nowadays. You can buy everything on the internet. And if you're going to go buy a CBD oil on the internet, you should 100% believe that you can email that company and say, can I have all your test results for this batch? If they don't do that, I wouldn't buy from them.
Got it.
Because it's something that like all companies should be doing that. And most companies are. There are a lot of companies that are. So you just, being an educated consumer and allowing yourself to just ask questions, companies deserve companies to serve you, like, because you have that value exchange, right?
Yeah, of course.
Money, value. And so, yeah, I'm just emailing any company and asking for their test results and looking to see, okay, it says there's 1,000 milligrams cannabinoids in this. Does the test result show that? Is it free of pesticides? Is it free of heavy metals? Is it free of the things that can show up in products? And like, I don't know, there's so many people on Instagram these days that are pointing out like all the bad stuff in food, and like, that's just the truth. There's a lot of bad stuff in a lot of things. So
like Paul Saladino.
Yeah.
Do you follow him?
Yeah. I've been following his whole everything.
He just turned on the Liver King, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, he did?
Yeah. Speaking of steroids.
Yeah.
So one thing that like a lot of people are concerned about, and I get hit up with this all the time because of my cured ad reads that I do. Like, I'm a cop, can I take this?
Yeah.
And I always tell people, I can't answer that.
Yeah.
You can't really answer that, right?
No, what I can answer is that typically drug tests are for THC.
Okay.
So if you are you're in a health profession, like you're a nurse or a pilot or something like that, or like anything that gets drug tested, typically it's for THC. And we have about 50% of our products are THC free products.
Okay.
You can look at the test results. They're THC free. We test them all. I can't legally tell somebody what they can do and can't do, but what I can say is for anybody that's concerned about being drug tested for THC, we have a wide array of THC free products, and everything's labeled THC free. That is THC free. And I can guarantee you that because we test it and we ensure that 100%. So that's kind of a roundabout answer, but
no, I mean, that's probably as detailed as you could give it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now I've heard that when you blend THC and CBD for different blends, like it's almost always beneficial to have even a trace amount of THC? Because it helps. I mean, how does that work? It helps your body.
It's just more effective. So like CBD, so the endocannabinoid receptors in your body, exogenous cannabinoids, so cannabinoids that you consume, they either modulate those receptors or they bind to them. And when they're in combination with each other, THC, CBD, CBG, all the other cannabinoids, they have a higher efficacy in the endocannabinoid system because they're working together.
I see.
When it's just CBD, it's just CBD. So it's just higher efficacy. Now, that's not saying that CBD by itself doesn't work, but CBD with low amounts of THC works way better.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, it's like, I think the military's finally starting to fucking look into this and potentially fucking
They need to
change their ways.
They need to.
So just talk about like, I guess just kind of give a rundown of the different products.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I talk about it every week, but you actually know what you're talking about, you know?
Yeah, but I mean, like I actually have listened to the ad reads, and like they work for a certain function for you. And so basically how we create our products is we have energy, mental clarity products. We have gut health products. We have stress relief and pain relief products. And then we have sleep products.
Okay.
And so sleep products are typically like Zen, which a lot of people love, are night capsules that have CBN in them. CBN is a more sedating cannabinoid. So like think like the feeling of putting a weighted blanket on you, that's CBN. That's what CBN does per se. And so there's a category of our products that are sleep products. You can get our products in oil form or capsule form. The oil that are the droppers that you just shake up and put underneath your tongue, those are more for calming, the calming effects. And when you put them underneath your tongue, you have a quicker absorption, but you don't absorb as much. So it's a quicker onset, but it's not as potent as taking a capsule. So we have a lot of products that are in the same form as liquid or capsule, but the capsule is just like higher efficacy because it's more concentrated. And then Zen is the opposite of Rise, which is our nootropic product, but that's a blend of CBD and functional mushrooms, lion's mane, and cordyceps. So it's really good for brain energy and clarity. And so basically most of our products sit in a category of struggles that all humans have. A lot of us, but it's like a lot of us can't sit down and concentrate or focus. A lot of people have problems with their digestive system. A lot of people have stress and are anxious, and then a lot of people can't sleep.
Yep.
And we have products that fit in each of those categories. So we're a company that has created products that help humans get through life, and it's based on cannabinoids. And if you go to our website, you'll see those different categories. You'll see microdose THC, you'll see focus, you'll see clarity, you'll see gut health, you'll see stress support. But overall, CBD is mainly, when it's just by itself, used for stress support, calming, and the anti-inflammatory properties.
Got it. So, and I mean, I don't know if most people do this, but like whatever the dosage is on my CBD, every once in a while I'll take like 20 times the dosage just to see what it does to me. And what I've noticed is with like the tinctures and with the oils and stuff, I can take a fuckload of that. And it doesn't really, I mean, I'm a believer in CBD, but I don't feel it like 10 times as strong.
Yep.
It feels basically the same.
Yep.
Whereas when I eat 10 times of the gummies, I go to the fucking moon on those things. You know, I'll eat a whole handful before we leave. So
it's so good.
It won't hit me till I get to the hotel.
But that's because underneath your tongue, like you can absorb underneath your tongue. It is a quicker path to the bloodstream, but you're not absorbing that much. Like,
so then when you swallow it down, it just gets...
It's just diluted all in your system. Whereas when you take a capsule or you take a gummy, it goes all the way through your system and then it's digested in your stomach. Whereas if it's just diluted through your system with water, food, anything else. Like you're getting a very low concentration actually absorbed.
So I need to take 25 rises when I get home.
I don't know about that.
Well, you're not recommending, but I'm going to do it anyways. And I'll let you know what happens.
I want to know when you have 25 gummies.
Oh, fuck. I'll do 25 gummies, dude. Yeah, I'll do 20. I don't know if I'll do it tonight. Maybe. That's
a lot of L-theanine in there too. So it's not recommended. It's just really good. It's an adaptogen, but it's really good for calming.
Oh, okay.
Like you'll actually see L-theanine in a lot of energy drinks because there'll be caffeine and L-theanine. And
so you need both to bring you back to neutral.
100%. So you end up in the same spot. It's like super stimulating, and like just throw a little bit of L-theanine in it to help it.
So you bought your first form energy just to end up right back where you started. Yeah, bro. So I've said that on the ads before. Like, I mean, I've been with the company for fucking 2 years now.
Yeah.
And my listeners know now, like, don't fucking write me and be like, bro, is that stuff real? Because I take offense to that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't like BioPro is another sponsor of mine that I'm a big believer in, and it's growth factors. And I really like the stuff.
Yeah.
And I'll have people write me and be like, bro, is that real or is that bullshit? I'm like, bro, why are you listening to my show?
Yeah.
If you think I would bullshit you about a product, why the fuck are you listening to me?
Yeah.
Right? But one thing I've been saying, I was like, dude, their new Serenity gummies, these things, they're the best fucking product.
It's our best product to date.
I love how these things make me feel.
They're so good.
And it's not, if you eat a handful, you'll get high, right? But it's not just the high.
Yeah.
Like I ate 3 before I started, and I can feel it.
Yeah.
I'm not anywhere close to high. But it just puts you, and it's serenity. It's exactly what the fuck you guys said. That's why I wanted to know who the fuck is coming up with these formulas, because they work.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's the help of a clinical herbalist, and a lot of we do in office testing. Like I skipped over that part, but like we always have the guinea pig, right? Like you gotta see if it works or not. How many gummies can you eat?
So functional mushrooms, does that mean that there's dysfunctional mushrooms?
One might call like psilocybin that. So functional is just like a term for it has an effect in your body that is directly associated with like energy or sleep. So there's a function to it versus like culinary mushrooms, you know, like a portobello mushroom.
Yeah.
Like there's no function to it. It just tastes good.
Or it tastes like shit, depending on who you ask, dude. Yeah, I don't like mushrooms and like culinary mushrooms. It tastes. I always say like mushrooms are a fungus. So is athlete's foot.
Yeah.
What about adaptogens?
So the definition of an adaptogen is something that helps you achieve a more balanced stress response. So it helps you with the stress of the outside world, of the environment, of toxins. So there's a lot of different types of adaptogens, but basically most traditional like Chinese herbs are some type of an adaptogen. They help with the body's stress response.
I see. Okay. I'm sure you saw Fantastic Fungi.
Yeah.
Bro, I don't think most people realize, and me included, that documentary is just a glimpse of what the fuck mushrooms really are.
100%.
They're not a plant. They're actually closer to humans than they are plants.
Isn't that wild?
And it's like, wait, what? Say that. Like, I don't get it, you know?
Yeah.
And, dude, talking about the mycelium network under the forest where trees will communicate with each other and they can transfer nutrients to each other. It was saying like mom trees can identify their offspring in the forest. And if they're not doing well, they'll fucking send them nutrients through mushrooms in the dirt. Bro, it's fucking Avatar.
And it's like the mycelium network is almost like a replica of the neural network of the brain.
Yeah, bro. Isn't that nuts, dude?
Like how messages go through neural networks is the same way as messages go through the mycelium network.
So it's like, is the earth an organism?
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because what do they say? There's like some 30-mile or chunk of mushroom in Oregon
in the Pacific
somewhere.
Northwest. Yeah, it's like the biggest living organism.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember how big it is, but yeah.
And it's like, what the fuck are we talking about, dude? But all that stuff's fascinating. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and sometimes you just need a little bit of THC to get there to start thinking about it.
I know. I get there all the time now. I'm actually, I already have it booked. And dude, some of the podcast listeners are going down with me, and I just put this together today because some of them had emailed me to do an ayahuasca ceremony.
Beautiful.
In Costa Rica jungle.
Beautiful.
For 4 days straight.
Wow.
And I'm not going to lie, I'm a little nervous, bro.
Yeah.
It's actually, I think it's 3 days of ayahuasca ceremony. And then the last day you end with a peyote sweat lodge.
Oh, wow.
And my buddy that did it, he actually came on the podcast and shared his whole story. His name's Chris Packney. It was a fascinating episode. He said the sweat lodge at the end is the worst.
Really?
Yeah. He's like, it's fucking tough in there, bro. Wow. And it's like, damn.
Yeah. I mean, think about your sauna and then like think about how much more intense it probably is.
Yeah.
Like when you're sitting in your sauna at 200 something degrees, like that shit's hard.
Yeah. And bro, getting high in my sauna it's like one of my things.
Yeah.
Because, you know how when you're using THC, your physical body has like a heightened sense of awareness.
100%.
So what I've noticed is the sauna actually hurts worse. Like I get in there, my skin is like, oh,
yeah.
Fuck, I'm burning. I mean, bro, it's hotter than boiling water in there.
Yeah.
Right? Now that sounds dramatic because water interacts with the skin like fucking 30 times faster than air does. Right. So like it doesn't matter if it's warm or cold, water affects you worse.
Right.
But still it's 215 degrees in there.
Yeah.
And when I'm super high, it almost feels like it's burning me so bad that I feel like I have to disconnect consciousness from the physical body. Right? And if I told most people this, well, I'm fucking saying it on the podcast, people think I'm nuts, but I think I can disconnect my consciousness from the physical body because of how painful it is. And then that's when the wild shit happens. So
we need to send you more bags of gummies every month.
I'll eat them all, dude. But no, like, and it's funny because that's an ancient tradition.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
I've just kind of rediscovered it by default, but it's a real thing, you know?
Yeah. It's a beautiful life, man. It's good to have you out here.
So fuck, we're coming up on 2 hours, man. And that's about where we wrap these up. But we also went off on some long tangents, which I like. That's what the podcast is about. That's why we just have fun. But is there anything like that needs to be put out there, either about entrepreneurship or growing businesses or more shit about your products or just things on your mind? And by no means am I saying we need to wrap this up, but I like to give people the opportunity, just whatever you had on your mind that you needed to share too.
Yeah. Yeah. I appreciate that, man. It's, to be completely honest, I think that, so over the course of like the last year, I've really started to mentor other entrepreneurs. And the thing that comes up for me quite a bit is how in their own way so many people are. And it makes me really, really sad because I can recognize like versions of my past self in a lot of those people. And I also just want to be super clear on the fact that there are tools that you utilize all the time, that I utilize all the time, that if it weren't for all the other physical benefits, just doing those things to actually show yourself that you can do hard things would be the reason to get into cold, to go do jujitsu, to go do things that are really, really, really fucking hard. And you have this fear about them that it's like this life or death situation. But when you can go through those situations or a very intense psychedelic experience like you're going to experience, and you can come out the other side, you start to really realize how fucking powerful you actually are. But it's so sad for me because even as I've coached other entrepreneurs, I just recognize this thing that so many people are in their own way. They're so afraid of so many things that are these made up situations in our own head. And so I think if more people can just start to commit to putting themselves in uncomfortable situations and proving to yourself one day after the next, that you can actually do things that are hard and uncomfortable and difficult and scare you a lot, you can actually understand that you have control over your life.
Yeah.
And I think that that's the thing that has saddened me, is because I see that with other entrepreneurs, and then I'm like, well, then I know most people feel this way, because an entrepreneur has already started to try to take control of their life. But if that's true for somebody that's already started to try to take control of their life, like, it's for sure fucking true for everybody else there in this world. And so it just saddens me to think about society and how many people are truly just living lives where they don't even recognize the life that it is they're living. They don't know that. They're like, whose life is this? Is this my life? Am I living this for somebody else? And it's a very sad and unfortunate place. And I think that for this country and for the world and for everything to be a better place, we need more people recognizing that we are in control.
Yeah.
Like, we are in control, and like, you're a living, breathing example of that. And that's like one of the things that attracts me to you the most. And like, when I met you, I was like, dude, fuck yes. Like, we need more people like that. And I know that like, that's the mission of your podcast and everything that you're doing, is creating that space for people. But it just seems so untangible for so many people. And so, like, talking big and talking about the things that can be done and the things that we can do with our lives is great and inspires a lot of people. But I think, just like Andy said to you, it's like, it's just those small daily actions. It's just winning the day. It's just waking up and going like, I'm going to go do something hard. I'm going to go get in the cold, or I'm going to go do whatever it might be. Your ability to get into the cold and recognize how afraid it is you were of that thing shows you that that difficult conversation that you're afraid of having, that hard thing that you want to get off your chest, it's really not that fucking hard. Because when you go do those things that are really uncomfortable, it starts to make those other things less uncomfortable. And it's not like overnight your whole life changes. When I say cured's 5 years old, cured's really like 15 years old. Like, it's because of me almost jumping off of the bridge and killing myself. And then that's how old it is. And so people compare themselves to the wrong thing. They compare themselves to the last year of Cure. They compare themselves to the last year of endless endeavors and everything that you're doing. But like, it's a culmination of little tiny, small, uncomfortable decisions day after day after day after day after day, to where you're 3 years down the road, or 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, and you can actually look back. And that's when you can have perspective. Yeah. That's when you can have perspective of all those small little wins that you've stacked on top of each other, one day after another, after another, after another. And at the core, that's just coming down to discipline, like, and not creating a space for negotiating with yourself. Yeah. So I just like that's so deep on my heart, and I just want that for so many people.
I love that you used the ice water as your analogy for that, because bro, it is literally the easiest yet hardest thing that you can do daily. You know?
Don't wake up and be like, I want to get in that freezing fucking cold
water. I say
it
all the time. Every single, like, I've trained my physiological response. My body's fine.
Yeah.
I can get in there and it doesn't take my breath away, and I don't wince, and I can sit in there almost as long as I fucking want to. But my brain still looks at that water the same as everybody else's brain.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, okay, fuck. Yeah. And like,
damn it.
And here's the weird thing. You have the people that will put themselves through that. Then you have a group of people. And because I look at the comments, my second viral video was getting in the ice 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And it got seen over 1 million times. It was bizarre. Dude.
Really?
Yeah. It went super fucking viral. And I've been posting ice videos for fucking 7 years now, you know? But you got the people that are willing to put themselves through that. And then you got a group of people that you can tell they want to. And they're like, man, that looks fucking cool. I don't know if I could do that though. which again, you're telling yourself a lie because you certainly fucking can. You just have to be willing to tell yourself that. And then the next group of people below that is the haters that are like coming up with reasons why you shouldn't do that. Yeah, you know?
That's the reason why you are where the fuck you are. Like, seriously though.
Yeah.
Like, but that's the truth. And like, when people ask like, what's the thing? There is no fucking thing. Like, there isn't. That's the thing. Go do that hard, difficult thing for you and start to realize how you can actually do other things. You're not going to build the business tomorrow. You're not going to have the different life tomorrow. But if you can show yourself that you can actually do those things, and you just start to do that every single day over and over and over and over and over again, you'll look back and you'll not even know that your life could have changed that much.
Yeah. Have you done 75 hard?
I have. Yeah.
Yeah. See that it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Because 75 hard, nothing in the program is really that fucking difficult if you're being honest with yourself.
No.
Because the workouts can be walks.
Yeah.
If the workouts can be walks, come on now. But it comes, but at the same time, it comes down to exactly what you're saying, like the discipline and the consistency and winning the day. Mm-hmm. And bro, like what I found is like, yeah, the workouts could be walks. No, guess what? We're fucking doing 45-minute CrossFit workouts.
Yeah.
Where like you feel like you're dying, you know, and like it just builds that path slowly but surely to the point where like you fucking enjoy living days or living your life where every day is a fucking win.
Yeah.
You know?
And the days that you fail 75 hard and you have to start over, you wake up and that's just like the little things I'm saying, like that little piece of it, like getting out of integrity. Like you're just like, oh, I read 8 pages, not 10 pages. That little course correct to doing the thing that you say you're going to do and keeping that promise to yourself, that shows you that you can do anything.
Fuck yeah, bro. There were days where I ate too many gummies and I was like, oh fuck, I haven't done my reading yet. I was like, well, it looks like you're going to read high.
That takes me a long time.
I was just going to say reading high is, there was one day, and maybe people will say that, oh, he fucking failed 75 hard then, because I was like, okay, I got my book in front of me and I can't comprehend sentences right now, but I can read words. So it's just find.
I'm not sure what they say together.
Find your center with cured serenity gummies. And I did that for 10 pages and had no fucking clue. The next day,
I couldn't read sentences. I could just read words.
Yeah. So the next day, I was like, all right, you're reading that section again because you read it, but you didn't comprehend it.
That's the one thing that I'll say about THCs. I can't read when I'm high.
No,
I can't read when I'm high. No,
dude. I love that shit. Maybe I'll eat a bunch of those tonight and try and read my book. I'm reading Wes Watson's book.
What's the title of that book?
Oh fuck, dude. I'm you know what? I'm gonna pull it up real quick right now because I want to give him a shout out. Are you familiar with who he is?
No.
So I heard him on Real AF with Andy. Oh. And he was a dude that did 10 years in a penitentiary and fucking he's like non-negotiable. What's called. In prison, he said, okay, fucking people can become fucking doctors. He had a 10-year sentence. What can I do in 10 years? And he goes, I could just be a fucking bitch and do nothing, or I could become a savage, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. And he's like, I took the 10 years in prison to build myself into the most powerful human I could be. And the second he got out, was killing it, dude. And growing brands and building businesses.
I gotta get that book.
And he's a fucking multi-millionaire now. And he's only been out of prison for like, I think 4 years.
Wow.
And bro, it's not an inspiring story. The dude is fucking rad. Listen to his episode on Andy's show.
I will.
Just fucking nugget after nugget after nugget of fucking like information that is fucking like the gold standard.
I'll check it out. Non-negotiable.
Yeah. And again, it comes from fucking living in a hard, dark fucking place and having to crawl out of that, you know? So, well, fuck, man. If we're at 2 hours, so unless you got anything else,
thank you, brother.
let's wrap this up.
Yeah, just thank you for being you. Thank you for repping the company. And yeah, thanks for having me on
Bro,
the podcast.
I've loved my partnership with you guys. And, you know, I was joking before we started recording. I was like, man, you're keeping me around. I don't feel like I'm producing enough. But fucking, you know, a lot of people that I've talked to about it are big believers in it. And, you know, I have jiu-jitsu students that are fucking sold on your stuff. And it's real. That's just the bottom line. And real knows real, you know? Yeah. And that's why we vibed right from the fucking get-go. But I'm excited that you came on here. If people want to reach out to you, I always wrap it up with this because there are some people somewhere that are going to have questions and they might not even be about fucking cured, you know? Tell me the best place for people to contact you, and then I'll link it in the show notes.
Yeah. You can reach out to me on my personal Instagram. That's Joseph Sheehey. So last name is Sheehey. If you message me on there, I am happy to answer whatever question you send my way. If you reach out to the company, first thing, Cured Nutrition, you have to type out the whole thing on Instagram because we're shadow banned because big tech doesn't like a lot of things, including marijuana related business. So you got to type out the whole thing. I'll
put both your personal and the company one in the show notes.
Yeah. And then curednutrition.com. That's where all the good stuff is.
Fuck yeah. All right, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, brother.
We'll do it again sometime.
Thank you, brother.